Hello and welcome here to Motorland Aragon. Do not adjust your YouTube stream or however you're watching this because it is a Monday. I am aware of that. Elliott York alongside myself, Kiko Giles. But we've got something extra special for you. We are, of course, at the Motorland Aragon post-round test. The third of the season is done. But the work just never really stops, does it, El? We've been here all morning already, half of the way through the day. Marc Marquez in dominant fashion. We knew that was coming. But overall, lots and lots of stuff to get our teeth into. We've got interviews coming up, but what a start to the morning from Marc.
Yeah, as expected, really. Marc Marquez, Motorland Masterclass all weekend, the perfect weekend, as we know. And yeah, it's kick-started this test in fine fashion. Ducati have been testing the new front area that we saw at the pre-season test. They've not had it on all season in terms of the GP25. So Marc had one of his bikes starting on that. Pecco didn't have any, but then Pecco has since gone on to that new aero package. So has Fabio Di Gianantonio. They've only got one new aero package to implement this season because of the rules. So it's interesting to see Ducati getting to work on that. Pecco didn't start straight away, probably testing some new front end stuff. But yeah, Marc straight away down to business in pretty much lap record territory. So yeah, he's not hanging around.
1:45.7 is the time to beat at the time we started this. El's going to keep his phone on just in case we get something pretty spectacular incoming while we're on air. Fabio Quartararo just coming down pit lane. Yamaha trying a whole host of stuff, including two variants of the swing arm, although not Fabio. He's only got two of the same ones. Follow us because there's a little bit of a breaking news story here today, and that is that obviously Trackhouse Aprilia here did not have Ayagura, courtesy of the Japanese rider's injury last time out at Silverstone. However, they do have someone very, very talented and special on the bike. So we'll get down there in a minute. Riders just leaving to go out to do their practice start session. So we'll carry on walking down in a short moment's time. Championship leader Marc Marquez, he's on his way out. Fine form he's in. Fantastic stuff from Marc in 2025 so far, but particularly this weekend, topping every single session. Let's keep on moving then. Let's get down towards Trackhouse, shall we? Because what we've got for you is someone who I'm sure you'll have heard of, but it was a bit of a baptism of fire. Manuel Gonzalez is testing for Trackhouse this weekend. Now that is, this week, sorry, particularly today. Motorland Aragon, of course, bad luck really in qualifying. He had to come through the pack in the Moto2 race. But, exciting young talent, and he's been rewarded.
Very exciting, obviously leading the Moto2 World Championship, and news was murmuring over the weekend as to who might be replacing Ayagura in the Monday test here in Aragon. A few names were flung about, Diogo Moreira, potentially Andre Iannone as well, but it was eventually confirmed that it would be Manuel Gonzalez. And let me tell you, like, this morning he was absolutely superb. Was within 2 seconds of Pecco Bagnaia, who initially topped the timings before Marc Marquez and others went a little bit faster, but super impressive for Manuel Gonzalez. Go straight out of the box, 9 laps in, come back, beaming smile on his face, of course. And to be within 2 seconds of Pecco. He's 2.8 off now, I think, of Marc Marquez, and he's super fast. But Manuel Gonzalez said that the only turn, I was listening to one of his debriefs quite cheekily, actually, just stood outside the box as Franco Morbidelli heads out for his practice starts. Was just stood outside the box along with a few of the journalists and cameramen and women. And he said the only turn he was really struggling with still once after his first run was turn 12, the tricky left-hander. We saw a few crashes there, didn't we, over this weekend? A tricky downhill section here at Motorland. But Gonzalez has been super impressive, got to say. You know when someone has a little bit about them, when they can go straight out there on circuit and get to within 2 seconds, within 3 seconds of the fastest guys who obviously know these bikes like the back of the hand.
I think the impressive thing for Manuel Gonzalez is actually just how quickly he's adapted, because it's not easy. How many times have we seen riders come up to MotoGP and then struggle? But this test day seems like it's gone really, really well for Manuel so far. Let's just head, collision in pit lane, let's head over down towards Trackhouse racing, because that's where we're getting to. Davide Brivio will be the guy to speak to about the sensational start, really. Raul Fernandez picked up this weekend, he might be picking up a little bit more, because he has been one of the seats, they've got the contract, that has been questioned a lot within the paddock. He won't be wanting to see Manuel Gonzalez getting on this quite as quick and quite as fast.
No, he won't be. But I think I'm intrigued to chat to Davide Brivio, who we're going to speak to in a moment's time. Manuel Gonzalez just doing his first practice start there. I'm intrigued to see what that was like as well. But yeah, Gonzalez, the riders won't want to see him going quickly. It's just the competitive nature. That's the nature of the beast. But he is going quickly. Now, we know that from Davide has said that it doesn't mean anything for the future. Let's see what how that plays out, of course, in the future. But yeah, it's been a really, really impressive start for Manu, and we've got the right man to speak to about that.
Tell you what, we really have. Davide Brivio, good to see you, Davide. The first thing I want to say is, Manuel Gonzalez, I don't think anybody saw him being quite so quick, quite so early on. It's been quite remarkable.
Yeah, to be honest, from this point of view, he surprised us, because he get, I would say, get into the speed very quickly. Already, I mean, first run, 49, and so we didn't expect that. And already on the first run, he was, okay, understanding a few things about the bike. So, yeah, good. I think he's enjoying.
Certainly look, he enjoyed it when he came back into the box, as most rookies do. Is it good for the team to get fresh comments and fresh ideas? Obviously, it's the first time he's ever rode a MotoGP bike, but how helpful is it to Trackhouse and to Aprilia to get someone from Moto2's comments straight away on the bike? Is it helpful at all?
I honestly, it's not what we're looking for. I mean, of course, he has not experience on a MotoGP. He gives comment, but it's more his feeling. I mean, you can use this comment in terms of bike development or test some item. It's just you will try to help him to understand the MotoGP. So some of the comments are respected. Some of the comments depend on rookies, and so it's. But you don't use that to develop the bike or to make some changes or stuff like that.
You saw him have a crash, Davide. Is he all okay? Is he fine?
Yeah, he's okay. He crashed on a turn 2, kind of a classic here in Aragon. The first turn in the right after a few left. And yeah, but he's okay. And just a slide. We are repairing the bike and going back in the afternoon.
And just before we do go, I have to ask, what's the latest with Ayagura? Are we expecting to see him at Mugello? And if not, who will be on the bike?
Yeah, definitely the target is to have him in Mugello. We're not thinking about replacement, because we convinced he can do. Now he's at home, he's back in Barcelona, and he has to work at home with physiotherapy and treatment to get ready. He is also willing to get back. We can't wait to get him back, and so we're really waiting for him.
I know you said that Manuel Gonzalez, it doesn't look like it's going to be anything for the future, but you've harnessed a lot of young riders over the years under your wing. Is he noted down just in case an opportunity does come?
Well, but as I said, we had the bike free this testing, and we felt it's nice to give an opportunity to Moto2 rider. At the moment, there is nothing. We have riders under contract for 2026. We don't have an opportunity for him next year. But it's nice to make a present, which, I mean, we're here, and we already organized. We don't have to come in purpose. And I think we might be followed by some other team maybe in the future, because it's something that I think it's interesting, it's nice to do, and can create also excitement within the sport and interest within the sport. So I think it's nice. Then, of course, if one day we will need a rider, I don't know when, of course, maybe you can take into consideration. You already have some information, because normally you don't have that, but that's not the case now. It's just something nice, and honestly, we feel also proud to do this, to give an opportunity to a young rider to enjoy. We wanted to do for few of them, you know, because that's few of them over there, outside there, that deserve that. And but okay, you cannot have a group test. So let's start with this, and who knows? Maybe in the future is some common activity that will be developed.
I just want to ask,
go on.
of course, about Raul Fernandez on the other side of the box. What's he been testing? Obviously struggled a little bit this year to find a bit of form, but what's Raul been testing in Aragon to help him further on into the season?
Yeah, no, we have a few things to test for him. In Jerez introduced one new chassis, and now we basically tested the copy, the second one. So he has now 2 bikes same. Then we have some aero package testing, looking at the next update. And then some settings, some different things on setting. We're gonna test some different exhaust later on. So that's the main things. And so for sure it's something very useful at this point, especially after what we consider a positive weekend of Raul here. So giving him confidence for the rest of the season.
Davide, thank you for talking to us. The one thing it has done is generated a lot of stories this weekend, so thank you very much. Raquel, if you just come, Raquel, our wonderful camera lady, look, there it is, the number 18 on the Trackhouse Aprilia. Will it be the last time we see it? Who knows in the future? So we are going to, oh, go on, Davide.
Yeah, no, as a track house, we honestly very proud to have started something like this. And then let's see, we wait for the other teams to do the same.
Trailblazing and already. Thank you so much, Davide.
Thank you,
and
Davide.
we wish you all the very best for the rest of the test day. And of course, when Ayagura comes back, hopefully at Mugello. Now, we have got an appointment booked with Davide Tardozzi, another Davide further up. But before we go, Al, let's just talk about Manuel Gonzalez. Mega fast, mega impressive. He's had a crash already. He's got that one out the way. But in the 48s, I mean, I don't think anyone saw that one coming.
It's exactly what I said earlier, Kiko. It's just been very impressive, and speaking to a few guys here in pit lane and in the media centre, everyone was impressed. And I know the mechanics were watching from the box as well when he came back in and was offering some good feedback as well. Really impressive stuff, and that's all that Manu's got to do, really. We know that I spoke to the team beforehand and I asked, what's the plan? Is it just purely hop on the bike, see how he gets on and just enjoy yourself? And they were like, yeah, that's exactly it. No, obviously, zero pressure whatsoever. As Davide's explained to us already, it's just about giving an opportunity to someone who deserves it from Moto2, leading the championship, hop on the bike, enjoy yourself, and make a name for yourself at the end of the day as well. And that's exactly what he's doing. So Gonzalez is doing what he needs to do to put himself in the shop window. He has done that already in Moto2, but hopping onto a GP bike is a completely different kettle of fish, as we know. And to be within 3 seconds of pretty much the all-time lap record set by Marc Marquez is a very, very good job. So, yeah, Gonzalez has impressed everyone here today, I think.
What do you think about the opportunity that teams are giving to young riders coming up? I mean, it's not anything long-term, but we have seen it before. Ducati gave Pecco that chance a long time ago. I think 2017, actually, at the Valencia test. Could have even been the year before. But we have seen it before. Don't see it too much, though. Should be encouraged.
Absolutely should be encouraged, yeah. It gives us something to talk about, doesn't it?
On a test day, that ain't always easy.
Well, exactly. No, it's great to see. Look, we wish all the best in recovery. I hope to see him back in Mugello because he's been a real standout rider this year in his rookie season. But it gets everyone excited seeing Manu Gonzalez on a MotoGP bike for the first time. Then it gathers momentum in terms of questions about the future. We know what's happening at Aprilia, so let's see what happens in terms of that. But it is great to see new riders coming into MotoGP, even if it is for one day, and being able to show what they're capable of, because Moto2 is a really tough class to get out of, to win the championship. Super competitive, we've seen already this season. Obviously, everyone in that class is chomping at the bit to try and win that championship, win races and get into MotoGP. That's their dream. So to see dreams come true, I think the bottom line is, I think as Davide mentioned as well, that's what we love to see, and Manu's realising his dream today, which is great.
And just on Davide Brivio as well, let's not forget he's worked with the likes of Noriyuki Haga when he was a young rider in 2000s over in World Superbike. He has worked with Maverick Vinales and Aleix Espargaro, and he has led the Suzuki project from 2015 onwards. Before that, he brought Valentino Rossi to Yamaha when he was a young rider. He'll know how to manage someone like Manuel Gonzalez and inspire him that actually, yeah, you are quite fast, and if you do it like this and we work it like this, it can be an exciting prospect.
Probably no one better to have as your team manager for the day, let's say, than Davide Brivio if you're coming into MotoGP for the first time. As you've just pointed out, super experienced working with riders, unearthing talent into MotoGP. And no team in this paddock would have put pressure on Manuel Gonzalez, that's absolutely for sure, especially not Trackhouse. And as Brivio says, the team are proud that they can be able to do this for Manuel Gonzalez. And it's great to see. And it's great to see Manu realising his dream and putting in some decent lap times. And that also should encourage more teams and more factories to do the same. We don't want to see riders get injured, of course. That's the reason why Gonzalez is testing in the first place. But injuries do happen, unfortunately, in this sport. And it's great to see teams giving them the chance to the riders to do that.
I think as well, what we can also digest from it is that Manuel Gonzalez is a very, very special rider. Not many riders have been able to make it work from World Supersport 300 and ETC before that, through Supersport, through Moto2, and now make it onto a big bike. So when he does get that opportunity, which I'm sure he will eventually in MotoGP, he is going to be very, very special indeed. We're just waiting for Ducati, because we do want to catch a quick word with Davide Tardozzi. He is on his way, I can confirm to you. Let's talk about Mark while we're here. Spectacular, sublime. There are not enough words to describe him at Aragon today and this weekend.
I mean, today aside, yeah, the weekend was special, wasn't it? We expected him to be dominant this weekend, and that's exactly how it played out. Last year it was different circumstances, but he's come back this weekend a year on the factory Ducati and just wipes the floor with everyone. Sometimes sport isn't about great battles and rivalries on track. Sometimes it's about watching someone at the peak of their powers do something that's just unbelievable, and that's exactly what Mark did this weekend. But back to business this morning, really. Obviously, the business of the World Championship is what a Grand Prix is all about, but we've seen all three of the GP25 riders testing that updated front fairing today, so we're intrigued to see what Davide has to say about that. And it was interesting to see that Mark was the one who headed out on it straight away, not Pecco, but we know that Pecco has been struggling with that front end, found a step yesterday. We're going to ask Davide about that as well, because that was the big story from the weekend.
And we know Pecco as well, back on the pace yesterday. I think that was one of the most beneficial Grand Prix we've had. As you can see, Davide Tardozzi has come out from the rabbit hole of Ducati. Davide, great to see you. It's lovely to be talking to someone in the quiet here at Aragon. It's been loud over the last 10 minutes. How's the test going so far? Very, very strong stuff from Mark this morning.
Yeah, not bad. We are focused with both riders to the new aerodynamic. So far things are going well. Then we'll see what it will be the result and the decision tonight. But anyway, this is the only matter that we investigate this morning, and we are happy so far.
Tell us more about that updated aero. I think it's the same one that we saw at the pre-season test, obviously a busier test in Sepang in Thailand. What have the riders said about it this morning, Pecco, and we saw Didier on it as well, Pecco, Mark and Didier. What have the guys said about it now it's been tested in Aragon as well?
Yeah, so far Pecco is quite happy, and I guess that I forecast that his decision is to approve it, while Mark still has some question mark. But you know, when you are so happy like Mark with his bike, everything is work well, it's always difficult to change. So we can understand Mark that still has some question mark.
We saw over down at KTM a front fairing that looks very, very like a Ducati front fairing. Davide, have you got any thoughts on that? Have you seen it?
Yeah, we are looking to save budget. Maybe we will have a common store, and apart the joke, I think KTM is following his own way, and if they are taking inspiration from Ducati, we are happy for that. But anyway, we are doing our job, and let's do the same to the others.
And just quickly on Pecco, Davide, the transformation from Saturday to Sunday was night and day. Has that continued?
It was small things. Pecco has to cross a line to be back the same rider of last year, and he did it. And this is something that belongs to champions, to people that believe in themselves, you know. And Pecco shows something very, very important yesterday, and he's doing this morning too.
Over to you.
What's the plan for this afternoon? Is it to keep running that aero? You said Mark's not made up his mind about it yet. Is there anything else that the factory boys and Didier as well on the GP25 they're going to test?
We still have some parts to test, but not very important. In the end, we don't want to investigate more frames or whatever important, because in this moment it seems that the bike is working good, so we don't want to create confusion. This is the moment of stability, and that's why we don't want to do more than that.
Davide, just before you go, something of a topic that's brewing in another paddock at the moment. We are expecting that Nicolo Bulega does stay over in World Superbike for another year on the Ducati Panigale V4R when that comes out, the new model, of course. But there are some rumours floating about that perhaps that's with a clause that he can also test the MotoGP machinery, thinking in the 2027 regulations. Have you got any thoughts on that? Is it true? Would you welcome it?
We have some thought about. I think that you will have news in a while, because there is Misano coming, and I think that it will be the moment for some announcement that belongs to the Superbike team. But Nicolo is a Ducati rider, is a Ducati Aruba rider, but in the end is someone that we are looking for the future, and we trust him, and maybe we will have some more collaboration in the future.
Davide, all the best. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, Davide.
So, from the horse's mouth then, not an absolute no, but dancing around the old announcements there. I think Davide Tardozzi, he's done this job for a long, long time now. I think what we can digest from that is Ducati, it was a very happy one-sided team, and now it seems everything's got a little bit better following Sunday and this morning.
Yeah, we're going to find out more, obviously, in Mugello where Pecco is. It was great to see Pecco back at the front, looking to his old self, but that's not where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be finishing P3. He wants to be where Marc Marquez is, at the top of the championship and in P1. But that change that they made on the front end has helped Pecco massively to be more competitive. Okay, we've only tested it at one track, so I'm really intrigued to get to Mugello, because it's a track that Pecco has won at before. He said it himself, he goes well there, immediately went well there on the MotoGP bike as a rookie. So Mugello is, I think, where we're going to see more and how competitive Pecco has now become again. Good news for Pecco also that he likes that aero package. Davide saying there that Pecco's pretty much made up his mind. As I said before, Pecco didn't head out on it straight away. He headed out in the first sort of hour or so on his normal bike. Mark headed out on that aero package straight away. Pecco has done less mileage on it, I would say, from what I've seen and the timing sheets would suggest. And immediately he's like, yeah, that feels pretty good. Now, as Davide mentioned, obviously Mark he's been feeling perfect this weekend. He's been feeling pretty perfect.
This weekend?
Well, he's been pretty perfect all year long. So understandably, Pecco's like, yeah, that's made a bit of a difference. I like it. Mark is a bit unsure. Intrigued to see what Fabio Di Gianantonio says, because he's been testing it as well. We're obviously going to interview most of the riders at the end of day today, so look out for that on MotoGP.com. But yeah, good news and better news for Pecco fans and the sport in general, because we want to see the best riders, the fastest riders at the front of the pack, and Pecco is obviously one of those.
Pecco is one of those, and the stats show that. He only just lost the title last year. He was the fastest rider on a Sunday. There is no doubt about that. The one thing that Pecco struggled with, I think, this year is this kind of hybrid between the GP24 engine but the GP25 package as a whole. Marc Marquez never knew the GP24, and okay, he said in the test that he has to learn two bikes. Marc Marquez is a very, very adaptable rider, very, very quickly, and he has kind of not necessarily ignored the flaws. I remember speaking with him at Silverstone, and he was saying that this bike is not perfect, and there are going to be tracks that expose the weaknesses. But he gets around that situation a lot better than someone like Pecco, who has such a reference point from previous years.
As Davide would say, Mark is Mark.
Yeah, he is.
He is, and as we all know, as you guys know watching as well, he is arguably the greatest rider of all time, and it's hard to argue against that. Some will, of course, and you're right to do so, but the feel he has on a bike, what he can do on a bike, we saw it jumping onto the Ducati for the first time, and his beaming smile, I think, was just a little preview as to what was coming. And as we know, we're experiencing it now. He's top of the championship, winning races week in, week out, regularly the fastest rider. So that's understandable. Pecco has struggled a little bit, of course, but it looks like Pecco is on his way back. Let's keep our fingers crossed that's the case.
I just want to stop us just for a moment. Pedro Acosta had quite a big crash earlier, turn 7. He wasn't the only crasher. We had Manuel Gonzalez down at turn 2, but the bike slightly second-hand, I think, from this one. Let's carry on down to Ducati, but it was a big old crash for Pedro Acosta. He was all right. He was perfectly fine. Good to see Danny Pedrosa down there in the KTM box. Paolo Bonora is also out there on track. He can't speak today, but it'd just be the words from the official riders, but Paolo Bonora continuing his testing duties. And just while we're on the test riders, of course, plenty more. Augusto Fernandez was here during the weekend. He's not here because they've got a test. Yamaha have got a test over in Barcelona. So there's a lot of test riders here this weekend and during today's test getting a lot of donkey work done.
Yeah, exactly. Miguel Oliveira and Jack Miller are going to join the test in Barcelona on Wednesday and Thursday with Augusto Fernandez and the test riders as well. Yeah, good to see Danny Pedrosa in the box. Paolo Bonora very busy, and as soon as he comes into pit lane, the shutters come straight down. He's working on an all blacked out Red Bull KTM RC16. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to speak to Paul, and they're being very secretive. But I spoke to Brad Binder yesterday, and he said they've got plenty of parts to try. We've seen that already. We're going to come on to KTM and explain a little bit more about that in a little while. But we're just getting towards Prima Pramac Yamaha. As we know, they've been in the news this weekend, it's safe to say.
Yes.
And they will continue to do so, you feel, in the next couple of weeks as well. But Miller and Oliveira doing plenty of laps, just giving us the finger as well. If Jack wants to do that to the camera one more time.
Yeah. Go on. Yeah, there we go. A few more fingers this time. I think we haven't got Gino for very long, so we'll get
Come in the middle, Gino.
quick comment at the end of this. But Gino, I've got to pick up on your comments this weekend about Top Rack. Yamaha making that contact, as you say. You say rumours are rumours, but we know what it's like. Race weekends, there's a lot of meetings, there's a lot more rumours that come around. What's the latest?
Well, nothing more respect to what I said on Friday. So we are in discussion. We didn't sign any agreement, so I cannot add any things more because it's something that we have to study deeply during this weekend, and let's see what's going on.
We have the Misano World Superbikes coming up this weekend. There is some rumours going around that we could have a couple of announcements over there. Team's home round next time out at Mugello. Be good to get something done by then, wouldn't it? With regards to 26, with or without him.
Well, if you want, I can repeat again what I said before. But what I said before, that's it. I cannot add any more. So let's study. Let's keep on working on that, and let's see in the next few days if we are able to do something more or not with Toprak.
Next few days noted.
We'll switch our attention to testing. Gino, Miguel and Jack testing. What they're running through today, we've seen them doing plenty of laps. Just tell us the plan for today and also Wednesday, Thursday, a big test in Barcelona as well.
Well, the test so far was quite good, honestly speaking. We tested a new engine, another update compared the last one, and they are quite happy. We had also some let's say aerodynamic improvement. In general, what we tested till today, this morning, was quite good, and we made a spec, especially on pace, I have to say.
Good to hear. Gino, we'll let you go. Thank you very much for your time. And we'll see you in Mugello.
For sure.
It's your home round.
We'll come and annoy you then as well.
For sure, you will back to me again. I'm pretty sure about that.
If he said the next few days, I don't think we'll need to.
Thank you, Gino.
Okay, thank you, Gino. We've got to push it. We've got to find out. We know that there is a lot of interest regarding 2026's MotoGP lineup. It was meant to be a quiet, silly season. What have we got ourselves into? We have Aprilia next up, who I think are this way. I would like to make a bet on that. I think they are. So let's follow us and let's go up here. We've got Paolo Bonora lined up. Let's pick up on some comments. Big one there. Next few days. The Italian Grand Prix is 10 days away, but Toprak's next event is this weekend at Misano. He will want to go there and be able to tell the media, thank you very much, and this will be the last time at Misano on a superbike.
Yeah, Gino keeping tight-lipped, as you can understand, very PR-friendly. But next few days, I think pretty much everyone in this paddock, as you guys will have seen online as well, on news websites, etc., We are expecting imminent news about Toprak at some stage in the next couple of weeks. So,
to or not to MotoGP, because that's the big thing.
Yeah.
He is heavily connected, but it could easily be he takes BMW up again on their offer.
yep, exactly. So Toprak is a massive name in the sport. Everyone knows that. So over the next couple of weeks, before we head to Mugello, obviously in a couple of weeks' time for the Italian GP, do expect some news. I'm very excited to see what it is, because you can tell by Gino's answers he's probably a bit annoyed about, obviously, Friday or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, answering questions, Toprak this, Toprak that. And I saw when you answered the question, you did have a little shake of his head and knew what was coming. So, but we have to ask. You have to ask. It's our job. So I think over the next couple of weeks, Gino will be able to say a little bit more about what's potentially going to happen in the future with Toprak.
I think at the end of the day, we've got to push and see what we can find out. And Gino answered it very, very eloquently and professionally as well. Let's just get out of the way because Pedro Acosta is coming in. We do have Paolo Bonora lined up for this afternoon, but I'm not sure where Paolo Bonora has actually gone. Let's just talk you through the KTM. That looks a little bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah, so you can see there, they're not running any rear aero on that KTM. If the camera just switches to the rear end of that machine. So KTM have been running the Stegosaurus type rear ring for the first time this year. I can see actually in the box that Binder has both of his bikes back to the old rear end aero. So they've been testing the Stegosaurus rear ring for pretty sure for the first time, and that looks like new front end aero on Pedro Acosta's machine there as well. As I said, Binder did tell me yesterday, Pedro didn't tell me much. He just said he hopes the bike is faster, which, you know, fair enough. That's exactly what you hope for. But Binder did say he thinks there's a lot of parts that are going to be rolled out today in the KTM box, which is exactly what we've seen. So intrigued to see actually Pedro running without the rear end aero, obviously doing back-to-back stuff with the old aero. Saw Binder come into pit lane with that on as well. So interesting to hear some comments from those two factory KTM boys later to see what they found and if any improvements have been made.
And I'll tell you what is very interesting with KTM. Obviously, we know their situation has been tricky coming into 2025. They are still throwing a lot of parts of this. This has been a trademark of their testing programs in previous years.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what KTM is all about, really. Obviously, we know the financial difficulties; those have been well documented. But KTM, as they've always said and as they've always told everyone, they're still trying, and they're going to be here next year, and they're planning to be here in the future as well. And while they are here, they've got to give it their best shot. And they had a good weekend, didn't they, KTM? Acosta finishing P4. Binder, I spoke to him after the race. He was feeling super comfortable. Sat there behind Pedro Acosta in P5, got a better start than he did in the sprint, and said he didn't do anything differently, he felt, in that turn 2 crash. But good to see Acosta, Binder, Bassini and Viñales all rolling out different parts, testing different things. A lot of the KTMs look a little bit different as well, as we've seen. So they're definitely trying, and I'm really excited to see what they say later on. Whether they can tell us much or not, I don't know. KTM are pretty tight-lipped at the best of times. But it's going to be intriguing to see what they say about this new aero, and especially the rear Stegosaurus-type rings that we see Ducati and Yamaha using.
And a quick word on Aprilia. I'm not sure if we're going to get Paolo Bonora. We're now just going to try and go into the paddock for that. But Aprilia looks like they've got a revised front fairing as well. Perhaps even the wings very marginally updated, but it's more or less the same thing. They've still got the rear wings, but not on the back of the bike. They're kind of the side pods. They're still running them. So Aprilia having a good day out as well, and getting a lot of parts tried and tested.
Yeah, we were studying that front wing, weren't we? And it's not too much different. If you're not looking at it really closely, there isn't a whole deal to try and get your teeth into. But I did see towards the end of that first sort of couple of hours that Bez had switched both of his machines, or Aprilia had switched both of Bez's machines, I should say, onto that front fairing, the new updated one. So to have it on both bikes suggests that he might like it, but also having it on both bikes could mean they're running different configurations of aero on different bikes, different settings, and just giving it a test with different stuff, which is obviously understandable as well. Testing electronic settings, we know Aprilia are as well, and a new exhaust system, Aprilia too. So yeah, the Nuali factory are keeping busy. Obviously, Bezzecchi doing a lot of the heavy work. Test rider Lorenzo Savadori is still here as well. He's going to be over in Catalunya on Wednesday and Thursday. So that test, I think, is going to be one to keep our eye on. It's a private test. We're not going to get too much info from it, but a really important one to keep your eyes peeled for any information on social media. But yeah, Marco doing a lot of running today on that new front fairing, so hopefully it gives them a little bit more speed.
We haven't mentioned Honda yet. Obviously, they have a depleted lineup with Luca Marini still out injured, recovering from his Suzuka testing crash. But we did see this weekend that, this morning, that Joan Mir carbon swing arm on that Honda. Now, that we have seen that before, that was the same one that Aleix tested down at the Jerez test. So Honda not shying away from keeping faith with their previous testing items.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what Aleix and Taka Nakagami are there for. And Mir hasn't used that yet in a Grand Prix weekend. Obviously going to get more information on it. Mir using it for the first time today. And he's been doing pretty much every single run on that carbon swing arm. So again, like all these riders, we're not had a chance to speak to them yet, and we can't get too many comments from them without speaking to team managers, which we're trying to do at this moment in time. But yeah, intrigued to see what that gives Honda and Joan Mir, who obviously had another decent weekend at the office. His best finish since the Indian Grand Prix back in 2023 this weekend on a Sunday for Joan Mir. So things are on the up. We've known that for a while now for Honda. But yeah, testing the new carbon swing. I didn't see Johan Zarco out on that either. No. So I think it's just Joan Mir doing the donkey work on that one.
It is interesting that with Honda. Joan Mir was asked yesterday in his press debrief about whether or not no Luca Marini was a bit of a factor in maybe perhaps more struggles in getting things done. But he said, well, we've got enough Grand Prix under our belt now. We know what our strengths are. We know where we're strong, where we're weak. So actually, it's not such a problem for Joan Mir to be out there on his own.
Yeah, they've done quite a lot of recent wildcards. Aleix was in Jerez, Taka was in Le Mans, and then Aleix was in Silverstone. So the last 3 Grand Prix leading up to this, they've had wildcard riders, Taka Nakagami and Aleix Espargaro, recent MotoGP riders as well. So recent experience, didn't have any time trying to bed themselves back in, let's say. Been doing plenty of testing before that as well. So let's be honest, Honda aren't struggling in terms of mileage on any of their machines. And when you've got the calibre of Aleix Espargaro and Taka Nakagami testing your new parts and bikes on a Grand Prix weekend, including in the test, then yes, Luca Marini is going to be a massive miss, because we know how technically minded and the great feedback that we know that Alberto Puja said about Luca Marini giving Honda and how much he's helped them. So he's a massive miss, of course, Luca Marini, but Honda aren't struggling in terms of getting mileage under the belts on new parts with fast riders.
The big thing, I think, for Honda is that they've made such a step. And now the testing, it's just that extra opportunity to do that. You will have finally realised you have reached your destination. Paolo Bonora and Aprilia. He's hiding away from us so we can get an extra grilling now for this. Come in the middle of us, because we're both we're security guards now. We're not good at this stuff. Paolo, how's Aprilia going? We saw a little bit of a modified front fairing, it looks like, on Marco Bezzecchi's machine. How's the feedback?
The feedback is good since the start, so it is a very interesting test. For sure, as I said during the weekend, we have many key points to understand better. In particular, the lap time, the time attack with the new tire. We have to improve this phase of the session. We are still improving. During the weekend, we improve the braking phase also during the time attack, but we have to fix the stability in the acceleration. We are still working on that. There are many things that we are testing to achieve this goal. In particular, the engine management and the electronic setup together with the chassis setup. Yes, you have seen the new fairing, and as I told you, the first comment was positive. It is in the correct direction. For sure, we have to understand with the other riders, also with Lorenzo Savadori and with the Trackhouse as well, if it is the correct direction. But the first comment was already good.
What are you hoping the electronic settings and fairing brings you? You say that won that pace in qualifying. What specific area of the bike, just for the viewers at home to understand, and us, of course, as well, what's Marco really focusing on? What's the main area for this test and also for Lorenzo in Catalonia on Wednesday and Thursday?
Yeah. Yeah, as you know, when you put the new tire to make the time attack, there is two phases, the braking phase and the acceleration one. The braking phase, we are quite good. And Marco already said that we are quite at a good level, but we have to fix the next one, so the acceleration phase, because in some corner to improve in the same direction, to get from him his potential in the pickup area, we have to fix the stability.
And talking about qualifying and the race in general, and Marco, he's now had a few months as a factory rider, Aprilia, of course, everything that's gone on with Jorge Martin behind the scenes. We won't touch upon that now, but how's Marco getting on with taking on a lot of the load for Aprilia? Obviously, main focus on a Grand Prix weekend for you guys is Marco. Won at Silverstone, which was great. This weekend, obviously, qualifying was a bit of a disaster, but again, in the race, he's churned out a great result. So how impressed have you been with Marco, with everything else that's gone on behind the scenes? How's he coped with everything?
To be honest, a very good impression, for sure. Since the start, since the first step with our bike, Marco impressed us, not only me, because was so specific in the comment and was good to test the new parts. Was a very positive feedback coming from him. And yeah, as you know, having two talent riders since the start could have affect in a different way the first part of the season, but we take the positive things from this situation. We test a lot with Lorenzo Savadori and we thank him a lot. And for sure, as you said correctly, the load on the Marco shoulder are very high, but he's so good also mentally to accept this and to improve race by race.
Just in case the people at home don't realise, it is boiling hot here in Aragon, isn't it, Paolo? So, besides me dripping in sweat, how important is it to get track time in conditions like this? Because we've got a very, very hot European summer tour to close out in July, and then it picks back up in August. It's going to be crucial to get test days like this under your belt.
Yes, for sure, because also last season, we suffer a bit, we struggle a bit in this situation with very hot condition, in particular from the temperature of the bike side, and we suffer a bit with the grip condition on the tarmac. So it is very important for us to have this kind of, of weather. For sure, the stability during the weekend was so good. Very hot and coming hotter and hotter, but it is important to improve in this situation because in the second part of the season we will see this situation many times.
And my final question before we go and get in a nice cold ice bath. You mentioned in the weekend the solution can be found for this situation with Jorge Martin. How's that evolving? Can we expect anything soon? And at Mugello, we know he's not bike fit, but will he be in attendance for your home Grand Prix?
For sure, as I already said, we are completely following the medical recovery from him side. We take with a very careful way he's improving, and in his situation is fully followed by the Dr. Charter, the Di Filippo, and all the medical staff. So it is necessary to take with very, very, very careful, in a careful way, this situation, because we want to be sure that he will be at 110% of his physical recovery before testing the bike, because he suffered 3 big injuries, and it is something that we are talking every day, also in our factory, to understand which will be the best moment to test with him, because we have in plan we have not decided the date, but we have in plan to get the opportunity to test the 1 day with as the regulation allow us, and after this test to understand which could be the next race when we will see him.
We look forward to seeing him back on track. Have a nice cold drink for us. We've got to also crack on. Paolo, see you in Mugello.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Paolo.
Thanks.
So, interesting news all around, and I think that is about as much as we're going to get out of Aprilia regarding Jorge Martin, and we have to respect that one, of course, but great to see that they're following the medical procedure 100%, and we will see him back on track sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. I didn't want to push him on the whole saga about him potentially leaving, etc., etc. Not the time and place for that right now, but good news to hear that Jorge's on the mend. I don't think it's going to be before summer that we're going to see him back on track in a Grand Prix. Let's wait and see the next medical test at the start of July. So fans, us, rivals, everyone wants to see the number one back on track as soon as possible. We're getting closer to that, but as Paolo mentioned, he's had 3 pretty serious injuries, unfortunately for Jorge Martin. So fingers crossed that it's going to be, well, in July before the summer break. If not, we'll have to wait till post-summer. But as Paolo mentioned also, most important thing now is he's 100% fit. Good that he's going to get a test on the MotoGP bike before he's back. But yeah, hope to see the number one back as soon as possible. And great to hear also that Marco Bezzecchi has really impressed Aprilia, because as I put to Paolo, I'm intrigued to see how he's been coping. First time as a factory rider in MotoGP with the extra workload with Jorge Martin not here. Spotlight has been on Bez, won at Silverstone. So that's good to hear that Marco is coping really well.
He's doing the heavy lifting out, and it's been brilliant to see Bezzecchi's progress, of course, at Silverstone last time out as well. You mentioned Jorge Martin being fit. That is something I am not, and these conditions are absolutely baking me. We will be producing lots more content, of course, across the rest of the test day. The end-of-day report will be going up very soon. We'll be speaking with all the riders and the managers again, and you'll be able to find out on the broadcaster near you. But from myself, Kiko Giles, and Elliott York over there, off for a cold shower, not together. And see you very soon next time out in Mugello. Goodbye.